Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Vanessa, and I'm the Director of Business Development here at LocalMed and Dental Intelligence. And today we're going to be talking about social media. I know social media could be exciting for some people, scary for others, but there is one thing we do know: it's always changing. There's always new things with social media. There's always new platforms, new ways to interact. But that's what makes it exciting. Different ways we can interact with others, especially since COVID, where we feel like we might be at a bit more of a distance with our friends, family, patients, coworkers, whoever it may be. So today I wanted to discuss that further. And so today I wanted to introduce Nathalia Porras. She's going to be chatting us about what are some of these changes in 2021 that we need to be aware of. So without further ado, hi Nathalia, how are you?
Hi, Vanessa. Thanks for having me on here today.
Thanks for joining us. So I know you've been working with dental practices for quite some time now, especially when it comes to their marketing. So why don't you introduce us real quick with what you've been doing with dentists to help them, and then let's dive into what we need to be doing here in 2021.
Okay, excellent. Yes. So I was actually introduced to the dental world back in a number of different years ago. I'm not going to say how many years, but I used to work in the Faculty of Dentistry at McGill University. I was doing fundraising for the university. And so I was actually reaching out to alumni here in Canada and across the US. I'm actually based in Canada, and I'm a founder of a dental marketing agency. I call it a boutique dental marketing agency. But just going back to when I was introduced to the dental world, it was back then that I actually observed that dentistry was what I called in an infancy stage, very, very just sort of getting started in terms of marketing. And so I then left my job, I completed an MBA, and then I took a leap of faith and started my own firm and in doing marketing pretty much. So fast forward to today, 6.5 years have now passed, and we have our dental marketing agency.
That's awesome. And so you've always been drawn to marketing. It sounds like that's just kind of been a passion. And the fact that you can help dental practices do that, because I think there really is very much a need in dentistry for when it comes to marketing and knowing what to do. And so with that, like I mentioned earlier, with social media, there's always changes that are happening. And I know that you mentioned that there's like these three big ones that you really want people to be focusing on. So why don't you start off with number one? What's the first one that if anyone has anything to take away from this, that they should go ahead and be aware of and implement?
Okay, so change number one is, I hope that all of you are on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, even YouTube, if you do have a channel. But change number one in terms of a global social media marketing strategy is being able to use social media marketing to build one's authority, credibility, and I would add authenticity as well onto that. So that's change number one that I think dentists have to be really aware of and start making changes within their strategy, their tactics, so that they could start doing that. So again, building authority and credibility and have that extra authenticity within social media.
So do you have any examples of what that might entail? I mean, I feel like social media makes people seem more human in a sense. I feel like going to dental practice, especially now everyone's wearing masks, so all you can really see is your eyes here. And it might be a bit scary because maybe you have to go in for a certain procedure, or maybe just in general, you're just not a fan of going to the doctor, whether there's a dentist or not. So how can practices, or maybe even individuals at practices, really get that messaging across through social media? Because I think the biggest thing that practices have too of that, number one, they don't think they're interesting enough, or they don't know what to talk about, or what content, or what's going to get their patients to interact. So do you have any recommendations of even just how to even start approaching that?
Yeah, I think number one, it's about being cognizant that your patients are most probably first going onto your social media channels before even visiting your website and before even calling your practice. So that's something really important to take into account. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a patient who is investing their time to research you further, they're going to come onto your social media and they want to know that you're an expert in your field. And they also want to see maybe some tangible changes that they could see in their life once their treatment is done. So what you could do about that. So again, that goes back to building authority and credibility using social media for that. There's a number of different examples that I have. One of those, which is really important, are before and after cases. And I'm not talking about the more dental kind of before and after cases with a cheek expanders. I'm talking about smiles. Like, you really have to show the transformation of a smile. So using a lot of before and after posts within your social media becomes what's called social proof, right? So that's number one that I would see, but you just have to be very careful in terms of the kind of photos you are using. Number two is online reviews. You know, again, as a patient, you are researching this dentist or this dental practice. So you're trying to establish that this is an expert and that they have good credibility. So online reviews is important. So it's important to have a strategy behind that to be able to get some good positive reviews online and just be present online on social media, right? Third thing I would say would be patient testimonials, and that could be in the form of video or just in the form of grabbing those reviews online and actually resharing them as a quote or as a post simply, if you can. Again, patients want to see what other patients have to say about their experience with your dental practice. And videos, right? So just videos, for example, talking about different treatments. And the one other thing I'm going to add to this is that people also want to learn a bit more about you personally, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the balance of showing your knowledge and that brand is going to be the winning scenario in terms of marketing, right? So you're trying to almost portray your brand values through your social media, and even it should reflect on your team members and anything else that is being done.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, what you said there, try and put yourself in the patient's shoes. And I know sometimes that can be difficult, but I think even just putting yourself in a consumer's shoes,
yes.
I travel quite a bit with my job here. And last week I was at a dental conference. I was out of town, and every day you're like, where do we go to dinner? Where should we go eat? I don't know anything in the area. I don't know where to go. I don't know how far. So I'm looking up, so many different places. So I'm trying to look up, hey, where are the top restaurants in the city? Just doing a Google search of that. I'm, looking at different, so once I find them, oh, let's look at the reviews. How many 5-star reviews? How many 4.5 stars?
Right.
I'm looking up, well, was there social media? Is the place cute? Because I want to kind of a cute ambiance of where we're going to go to dinner. How far, I'm putting up my directions. How far is this then from where we need to go? Do we need Uber? Do we need whatever? And then, and this is kind of where LocalMed comes into play, where then it's also, I want to be able to make a reservation right there, 2 clicks. So there's, even as a consumer, if someone, just think about when you're out of town, maybe you're not looking for a dentist, but think of yourself on the consumer side of all these steps that they're going through, because they're doing that same thing to find their dentist in other parts of their life as well too. So I think that's one of those things. It can be difficult at times, but when you really think about your own day-to-day life of how you are researching different services, people are going to social media. They are looking at reviews. They are looking at videos. They're looking at photos. Don't have stock photos. Have photos of your team. Even do a quick, it doesn't have to be a professional video. Just take your phone and do a quick, hey, here's what's going on at the practice. We're doing this and that, or here's this patient that, mentioned this, happy to serve. Anything simple like that.
Absolutely. So since you mentioned that, I'm going to mention Reels. So Reels has become, in terms of a more tactical thing to do, is showing the true self behind who you are, through Reel. And Reels are videos that are about up to 60 seconds on Instagram. And they're very similar to TikTok, if you're familiar with TikTok. Videos, but on Instagram now. And so I've seen a lot of dentists using Reels to show raw, unedited video versions of them, or just giving quick tips. And it's just that's the balance that comes into place that I was talking about before. Yes, you want to show yourself as an expert, but also that who you are, what your brand stands for, your personality comes in there. And I find that Reels are just, an amazing format to use to show that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the patient care goes so much further as well. The more that a patient, I feel like they are comfortable with their dentist or with the dentist, team members, the more comfortable that they're going to be with asking those questions that are needed for them to have that case acceptance as well.
Yeah.
If they feel like there's this like separation or almost like a bit like stiff arm, they're not going to be comfortable bringing up questions, and that's going to be hard for the practice to, get the case acceptance from there.
Correct.
And so I think it creates overall this, much better quality patient care by sharing that authentic part. And maybe there's things you have in common. Maybe you make a new friend out of it. maybe you both like biking and didn't realize it.
Right.
But it does.
It humanizes the dentist, I find. And so that's hitting on that authenticity. So as you're building credibility and authority, you're also building that authenticity. And I think you mentioned something, which is don't do stock photos. Like people don't want to see stock photos on your social media. They don't. It's not going to do anything for you, at least. For you as a dentist or as a dental practice.
Yes.
So that's change number one, pretty much, that I see. And give me a second. Sorry. So why don't we move on to change number two, which is one of the biggest changes that I've seen as well, which is working with micro influencers locally. And I could tell you, and I don't know what your experience has been, Vanessa, but I could tell you that in different industries, I have seen this for a long time, and it kind of started really getting into dentistry in this past year and a half, I would say, where I do see a lot more dental practices even just open to the idea of working with micro influencers or influencers.
Yeah. So why don't you first start off with explaining like what is a micro influencer?
Right.
Some people might not even be aware of this. Like, what the heck are you talking about? so what is a micro influencer?
Okay, so actually one thing that I want to say is that I always recommend to be working with micro influencers and not influencers. So what is an influencer? It's simply someone who has a large following on social media, be it YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and they have an influence over their audience, right? And so they will partner up with brands to promote a brand. They become like a brand ambassador pretty much online on social media. Right. So I always say go with a micro influencer locally, because you always have to go back to what is your goal as a dentist? What is your business goal at the end of the day in terms of utilizing marketing for your practice? And as a dentist, honestly, I wouldn't care so much about a national influencer that is not locally, because you want to get foot traffic in your clinic, right? You don't just want to get you don't want to just become known as a good dentist all across if it's not going to impact your bottom line. So I hope that's clear. I would always suggest go with a micro influencer. And how I define a micro influencer is a person who has a following between about 5,000 to maximum 25,000 people online.
Okay.
Keep it at that. Local though. And the second thing I always like to say is do your due diligence when you are selecting a micro influencer, because you want to make sure that your brand aligns with their values and the kind of things that they are promoting. So it should be someone that would be pretty much your target audience, that it would be like a persona, marketing persona for your dental practice. So that just be careful, and yes, do your due diligence.
So do you have any examples of like who would be like a local influencer, not necessarily a person's name, but of how they're influencing? So I'm sure some people are watching like, am I just like going on Facebook and just trying to find people randomly, or on Instagram? What does that kind of look like, of how to even vet them out? But then also, are there particular ones that you think work better in dentistry of being an influencer because of the following they have are, the great typical patient that they want?
Right. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. But one thing I want to say before that is that some of the dentist's current patients might already be micro influencers, which is why it's really important to be doing a lot of social media engagement so that you get to know your patients online.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You already got them sold. They're already a patient of yours. So why not? Yes, I love that.
So use your current patients to see which one of them is a micro influencer. So just to give you a couple of examples of really good type of persona profiles I see that you could use would be, for example, a mom blogger, would be someone that would have a good following. That, let's say that we're talking about an orthodontic practice or a pedo practice. And so a mom blogger would be someone who would have a really good profile, The reason for that is because a lot of times moms are the ones that are making the decisions in terms of healthcare within a household. They're the ones that are booking the appointments for their kids, for themselves, and for their spouses, right? So they're a really important segment of the market to be targeting. So that would be one, that would be one profile. Just go out and seek out a really good local mom blogger that has a following between 5,000 and 25,000 to actually secure or negotiate, let's say, to become an influencer for you, so that would be an example number one. We have another client we have one client who is working with someone who's a fitness instructor. So she has a good following online as well. And so a lot of the people that are following her are sort of like on a path or on a journey to just become or feel more self-confident in terms of their personal image. And so she's become an influencer, and she's a micro influencer. I think she has maybe about 12,000 followers locally. So that's someone who has worked really well with one of our clients. Another one of our clients, and this one is more on the side where she's becoming more of a larger influencer, but she was actually a star in a local reality.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She has a lot of following there. But I would start with who your target audience is, figure it out first if you haven't already done so, and then try and see one if you already have within your current patients a micro influencer, because that's like the low-hanging fruit right there. And then do your research in terms of who else could be within your local community a good fit for your practice.
Awesome. I love that. And I think there's so much value in that is still so untapped. But if you can kind of figure that out, and I think it could be very fruitful for a lot of practices.
I agree. I would caution just on making sure that you have a written email, at least, that states what you're going to do, right? So for example, as a clinic, you're going to, let's say, offer a discount on a treatment. And then the micro influencer is going to create some posts, some stories, even some reels. So you do have to sort of list out what it is that they're getting for that discount on the treatment, or giving a treatment for a big discount if you can. But having that is really good, having that listed out. And that's it. You know what? I've seen like a snowball effect start with micro influencers with dental practices. So yes, I agree. It's a huge untapped potential right there.
Yeah. And then if you're the first one in your area to do it, I mean, you can tap into the best ones first.
Exactly. So yeah.
I love that. Okay. So we've talked about the first two. So what's the third thing that, with 2021 here, of what people should be conscious of when it comes to social media marketing?
Okay, so I'm just going to summarize the first two first. So number one is to use social media marketing to build your authority, credibility, and authenticity, right? Mm-hmm. Number two is to be using micro influencers, not influencers, but micro influencers locally. And number three, which is I think the one that has the biggest impact for patients, is to, like never before, patients are seeking for convenience and ease to book an appointment. And I want to stress this so much. You have to make it super duper easy for followers online, for example, to become new patients. So that is providing them a very easy way to book an appointment with your practice. Yeah. So that is a good segue into why you should be using LocalMed for that.
Ta-da! No, but seriously, I mean, I think that's the thing, is that a lot of practices, realize, like, it's almost one of those things that, once again, take a step back and put yourself in the consumer's shoe. If you went to a website, there's stock photos, they don't see you, they don't see a bio, they don't see any, any reviews. So you're not seeing the authenticity, the credibility, you're on there, and then going to a website that is the complete opposite of that. So right there, you're catching on, you're more attracted to that one, despite their credentials could be the exact same. But as a consumer, you're going to be attracted to the one that reads to you more personally. But then also, you can then be on a website where it has request an appointment, which makes me just want to like shake people when I see that. We'll say request an appointment where you're like, I'm not requesting. Like, COVID's happened. Everything is convenient. I can order groceries in 2 seconds on my phone. Like, no, everything needs to be booked. Book an appointment, make it happen right now. And with LocalMed, obviously, it makes it easy because it writes back into the practice management system. So it's very seamless and works around your scheduling rules. But it really does close the loop on the marketing efforts. You know, you're spending all this time with your marketing and a lot of money a lot of times. So like, that's why I like want to shake people like, why not make it easy for them to convert, you know, and make those marketing dollars go so much further.
Yes. So if we go back to the example that I was giving you before, like the mom, right? I'm a mom of 2 kids. And to be very honest, I do all of my booking online. And it's not 9 to 5 that I do my booking of my appointments.
Oh, right.
It's at 10 p.m. when the kids are asleep and I have time for myself, right? And I want to grab my phone in bed, most probably, and book something right away. Like, I don't want you to return that call tomorrow, 9 to 5 when I'm super busy. I want to do it right away. And that's it. So as you were saying, this is a way to really leverage your marketing efforts to the fullest. It's a good way to see results in terms of all that you have invested into marketing.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of areas where I really believe that people might not even be thinking about adding the LocalMed button. And so I just want to give a couple of examples. Number one is on Facebook, there is an FAQ section that you could actually add to your Facebook page so that when people are they grab their phone and they're going to message you, they have a menu of FAQs already set up for them, right? And so right there, and then you could actually add a book an appointment button on your FAQ. Let's say they ask, the question is, can I book an appointment, right? Yeah. Or do I need a referral from a dentist? Let's say it's a specialty practice. And then your answer is you don't need a referral to see us. You could book an appointment right away. So right there is where you could add your LocalMed button. And so that person is booking within 1 minute, of asking this question at, again, 11 p.m. at night. So that's one area that I think people forget about on Facebook. It's that FAQ section. And it's that sort of like versatility of being able to answer right away to a question that a potential patient might have. The other place that I think is really important is on Facebook. Again, you have a book now button on the top, and you can edit that so that you add the LocalMed URL on there. So that very quickly someone comes onto your Facebook page and boom, there you go. Same goes for Instagram. The only link that you have on Instagram, I would highly suggest that you have one CTA, so one call to action, and that would be to book an appointment.
Yeah. Well, and what's great too is that it's a link. So you can really incorporate anywhere. So even if you are, maybe you're posting a video on Facebook and you're talking about, maybe you have this new teeth whitening day or something you're doing. Like you have a day where you're just doing teeth whitening all day. It's a way of getting new patients in the door. And why not include in the post itself, or even in a comment of like, hey, if you want to, go ahead and schedule an appointment, click here. So you can really incorporate, I mean, you should really in general, and I know you would agree with this, Nathalia, but like a call to action with every little thing that you do.
Oh, absolutely. That's a must.
Make it easy. And I think too, like my rule of thumb with online scheduling is anywhere you have your phone number or your address, include the link there. Because if they're trying to find your address, if they're trying to find your phone number, they're probably trying to get in touch with you and most likely for an appointment. Absolutely. So make it easy.
Or again, if you're, for example, running Facebook ads or Google ads, and the person is looking at them at whatever time they are looking at that Facebook ad, then you want to make sure that you have added that URL onto there so that all that money that's being spent on there, you're getting a return.
Yes, especially when you're paying per click. You don't want those clicks to go to waste, especially if they're expensive. So if you're paying $8 a click, you want that $8 to turn into a patient.
Yes, and depends on the different campaigns. But for example, like dental implants could be very costly of a campaign to run. So you want to make sure that again you're leveraging what you are doing in terms of marketing.
Completely.
So that wraps up the 3 main changes that I see happening in 2021, and I would say and beyond. And I would really want to see dentists just be aware of them and applying them internally within their dental practice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing those with us. I mean, it was really informative. And I think as life is slowly, I don't want to say getting back to normal, but the new normal, if you want to say, I think a lot of this year was focused on kind of how to just keep chugging along, where now I think people are really starting to strategize again and really think about what's our focus for this year. So thank you so much for sharing those, because I think those are really valuable. And I think everyone should really be looking into them for their practice. But then also, Nathalia, if anyone has any questions, wants to get in touch with you, I know you have your own company as well. How do they find out more? How do they get in touch with you? How does that work?
So they could go onto our website, NP Digital Marketing, and all the information is there. We're also on Instagram, NP Dental Marketing, and we actually have a YouTube channel where we share a ton of really good tips and recommendations specifically done for dentists. And again, that's NP Dental Marketing on YouTube. So anywhere, we're all over the place, I would say.
Perfect. Well, definitely check her out. And thanks again for jumping on today. Really appreciate it. And I hope everyone with these tips can really have a great 2021. And we'll see you guys next time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Vanessa.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.